Welcome to MANO A MANO, where men can be men. My name is Jonathan Astro. With me is the masculine Ricky Allpike and the, I don't even know what to say, the rock hard Yuri.
Yep. Sure.
I was talking about...
I do have some other tabs open in the background, so I didn't think you'd be able to tell, but you know.
I was talking about your muscles and that, but that works too. We are gathered here, gentlemen. It's sort of... This is the final installment of our Australia Day review session, and we are doing Romper Stomper from 1992, directed by Jeffrey Wright, written by the same. So yeah, I mean, what's the go?
I had a great time, and not because I'm a white supremacist or anything, but just because I had a great time. And it's been a long time since I've seen this movie. Actually, I wasn't old enough to see it when it came out, but I saw it probably when I was at uni, and not again until now. I don't think.
I think maybe I'd seen it. I think maybe in the late 90s. And because of a lot of, I think, quite specific things to my actual situation and the types of Aussie movies I'd been watching, I didn't particularly enjoy it back then. But watching it back now, I had a much better time, and it wasn't kind of as bleak and really realistic as I remembered it. It was a bit more stylish than what I had remembered.
It's quite cinematic, isn't it?
Yeah. But around the time I'd been watching... So I'd seen Metal Skin first, which was the same director's follow-up to this one. And, other movies like, I don't know, Mullet and Idiot Box, and a lot of this kind of 90s...
Larrikin.
Kind of low-budget type... It was Larrikin, but it was all kind
Larrikin
of this...
heists.
But it was all shitty Larrikin heists, and everyone was a dick, and everyone was poor, and everything was crap, and, it kind of... And it
well,
wasn't
there's some
until,
of that in this.
There is. But what I didn't kind of realise, I listened to someone else's review of this movie, is, like the late 80s and early 90s, Australia was in a recession. And that's actually when I started kind of watching a lot of Australian cinema, and it kind of echoes that recession, which is, I think, why it kind of put me on the back foot with Aussie movies for the longest time. And even even Chopper's got some of that, or like Little Fish. And it's like, man, I'm just sick of watching these depressing Aussie movies.
So if you say one more of those titles, I'm leaving. Okay? You've mentioned Idiot Box, Little Fish. Chopper, I will let pass, obviously.
No, Chopper is... Yes,
that's proper.
The top tier one.
We're going to say next, he died with a falafel in his hand. And
yeah, I saw that too.
The Rage at Placid Lake or whatever.
Oh, I actually don't mind that.
I think I missed that one.
Whatever. Look, the point is, I get your point. This is cinematic. This is stylish. It's referenced. See, because the thing is, in Australia, or most of those other movies you mentioned, we usually make movies like we don't watch movies. So this movie is made by someone who watches movies, and it begins, and if you know anything about movies, you go, oh, this is like Clockwork Orange, almost from the very beginning, the angles, the music, there's a whole bunch of stuff that makes you, that these cues that you go, oh, this is telling me something. This isn't a dialogue across decades between, whatever conversation was going on in Kubrick's film about crime and whatever, and this movie, but it's bringing its cultural specificity of Melbourne and Footscray and all of that to it, and a beautiful blend. That's why when people are genuinely cinematic in this country, they don't stay here. See, you direct Chopper, and it's like Taxi Driver, and it's even got references to Taxi Driver into the the slow-mo walking down the street and stuff like that. He's in Hollywood. You know what I mean?
Well, Jeffrey Wright is not in Hollywood.
He wasn't, but he did go to Hollywood briefly. You know what I mean? Like did Cherry Falls and that. He could have, he blew his second feature, which isn't hard to do, but he was definitely tapped to go. You know what I mean? Whereas these other people we're talking about, they're not going to Hollywood. They're suckling on the teat of the government, and they just want development money. They want to get the new Tim Winton book or his fucking short stories. No, whatever. He's just I don't know, found
whatever
on
he's
his couch.
called on a napkin.
Yeah, yeah, and they just go, oh, this could make a feature. This could make a feature film.
Yes.
So,
This movie that is so specifically about Margaret River, that'll
Yes.
appeal to an audience outside of Margaret River, won't it?
yes.
People listening probably don't even know what Margaret River is.
Nor should they. It's-
But this film was a big titted hit. Although it comes with heaps of controversy, it made 3.2 million at the Australian box office, the second highest grossing Australian film of the year, behind Strictly Ballroom, which is a film like totally opposite to this.
But another guy who's in Hollywood.
Yes,
Because, you know,
Baz
and
Luhrmann.
Romeo and Juliet's a masterpiece. So, I mean, you know, like these guys have got it. You've got it or you don't. And so, but just before we move, you know, off onto different topics. So I saw this in high school. Like I think I recorded on TV or whatever. I managed to get hold of it somehow. And it was one of those movies that we used to that was a bit famous in our little group. Like we used to reference it all the time. We used to sing the song, skinhead, and just like sort of dance around, like pushing each other and stuff. So I don't know whether that's what they wanted us to do in the movie, but that's what we're doing. And we used to just talk about that party scene, and you know, some of the stuff in it was just searing, you know, etched in our brains.
so much more operatic than I remember as well. And I heard someone kind of liken it to a Shakespeare play. It's
Sure.
almost like, you know, these two friends, and then the woman comes into the picture, and it's kind of all about that relationship, and it deteriorates. And it's almost like like a Shakespearean tragedy that happens to be set in Melbourne.
But also, it's this before I get into the synopsis, it's the simplicity of the story, I think, that is the strength of this, and the pared back nature of the film. It's 90 minutes in and out. The perspective is just right. Also, we're in the gang. Maybe we can talk about this later. Here's the difference. The filmmakers quite like Hando. That's the Russell Crowe character. They quite like him, and so do we, for that matter. And the movie has a moral neutrality, and that's why it's good. So think about all the characters it presents with no outside comment that you wouldn't get today. So we've got like the dad who's a diddler. We've got the neo-Nazis, and we get to see them being, you know, friends and helping each other out and being tender, and as well as being monsters. And Gabrielle is, you know, a terrible person as well as being crazy. You know? So I just love that. The perspective of the film. It's really quite striking, and maybe we can get into it later of you know, what's happened since.
From Australia comes a film which exposes the reality of racial violence in Melbourne. Hatred, fear, and ignorance are their weapons. Nominated in 1992 for 9 Australian Film Institute awards. Romper Stomper.
Because I don't want to be a white coolie in my own country. Because it's not our country anymore. Because rich people and powerful people brought in boatloads of human trash.
Maybe you got him enough now, Hando.
Don't fuck me up again!
You want to knock over a house, do you?
I want revenge.
Who the hell are you? We came to wreck everything and ruin your life. God sent us.
So how do you know?
He's my dad.
I loved you.
That wasn't love.
You wanted me.
Kill Bubs.
Controversial and powerful stuff. The performances are fabulous. It's straight in the guts. Romper Stomper.
All right, okay, let's get it done. So, set in Footscray, in Victoria, Romper Stomper follows a group of young neo-Nazi skinheads as they rage against what they perceive as an influx of Asian migrants into their spaces. We get a glimpse of their lifestyle in the first scene when they brutally bash 3 young Asians in a train station. The film is centered around the friendship between the reserved Davey and the explosive and charismatic Hando, played by Big Russ. One night, they encounter an attractive oddball at their local pub called Gabrielle. Jacqueline McKenzie is the actress. She's at a loose end after running out on her junkie ex-boyfriend, and Martin, her rich sugar daddy. Hando and Gabrielle hit it off. You know how it goes. She's a manic depressive and he's a white power neo-Nazi. It's love. At one of the group's raucous parties, we get the sense that Davey has feelings. This is the friend. Davey has feelings for Gabrielle as he's forced to wail on a punching bag downstairs as Gabrielle gets supremely railed by Hando upstairs. Disaster strikes when the boys get wind that the local pub has been sold to a Vietnamese family and to be turned into a restaurant. The skinheads bum rush the sons of the new owner and beat them ruthlessly out the back of the pub. A brother of the Asian boys returns from an errand to see the beating unfolding, and he takes off back to his family's restaurant or local factory to get help. He returns with dozens of friends and a massive brawl ensues between the skinheads and the Vietnamese. The skinheads are completely overwhelmed and several of them are knocked out with the rest of them fleeing back to their headquarters. The Vietnamese follow them and begin to beat their way into HQ. Hando wants to go down in a blaze of glory, but Davey and the others are not so keen. Hando reluctantly agrees to flee across the rooftops to safety, which they do, with Davey gallantly rescuing Gabrielle's jacket in the nick of time, which I think is very symbolic. They're set up in a warehouse, another warehouse, and hatch a plan to retaliate. There's even talk of purchasing firearms, which sees their female companions finally skip out. It's getting too dangerous. Gabrielle suggests that they rob her sugar daddy, Martin. So they roll up to Martin's mansion, and she tricks her way in. And then the skinheads enter and tie him up to a toilet and begin to ransack the place. While the skinheads carouse, drinking wine, smashing up cars, we discover that Martin is in fact Gabrielle's father and that he's been abusing her since she was young. Meanwhile, the younger skinhead Bub steals a firearm but is disappointed that the firing pin has been filed down. So Martin, the dad, manages to escape his confines and grabs a working pistol and chases Davey and Gabrielle out and the other skinheads out of the house, firing wildly into the night. Back at the warehouse, Hando and Gabrielle have a fight. She calls him a loser for screwing up at the heist and he hits her. Needless to say, their relationship is over. She takes off and Davey follows suit, giving Gabrielle an address that she can find him at. He's making his play. Gabrielle reports the skinheads to the cops and the cops storm the warehouse, arresting the remaining members and shooting young Bubs, thinking that his handgun was the genuine article. Hando manages to escape and he tracks down Gabrielle and Davey at Davey's grandmother's home where they've shacked up. Believing the cops will descend soon, the trio hit the road and head to Adelaide, I think is the plan. On the way, they rob a petrol station and Hando murders the shop attendant. The next day, they stop at Bell's Beach and Gabrielle overhears Hando trying to convince Davey to abandon Gabrielle. Gabrielle burns their car in retaliation and admits to Hando that she called the cops on him. Hando tries to strangle her. Davey intervenes and the men fight. The action spills down onto the beach with Hando trying to drown Davey in the surf and then attempting to finish his strangulation of Gabrielle. Davey comes to the rescue and stabs Hando in the neck with his Nazi blade, and he dies on the beach in front of a group of confused Japanese tourists. The end. That's the movie.
And it's got that great shot where it's like Hando's perspective of the ocean, which is like, what is it, like sideways? And
yes.
Then the credits
POV.
roll.
Hando's death. POV.
Yep. It's such a boss way to end the movie, I reckon.
It is. I think that's symbolic of the outrageous and effective style of the entire film. This is a young person's movie. This is made by a young person. I mean, there are a couple of people who can break the rules, and that's George Miller with Fury Road, who I think made a film that seemed like it was made by a 23-year-old. Woody Allen did his version of that in Match Point. It looked like it made by a very young man. And here we have, this is definitely young energy. You know, throwing the camera around, just bold, dangerous, exciting.
Well, can we really say that this film glorifies being a neo-Nazi in Footscray? Because, you know, all the skinheads in this film are losers. They live in squalor and filth. They've got no jobs and no prospects. You know, they even fuck up the robbery at Gabe's dad's house because they're too busy, like, fucking up his Japanese-made car. What is it, a Toyota Corolla or something?
It's a Nissan Skyline.
There you go. So, you know, it may be fun to hang out with them for an hour and a half, but this idea that Romper Stomper is going to bring on the second coming of Adolf Hitler is a bit much. Do you guys agree?
I totally. And because, It's horrible, and I don't like any of them, and I don't want to be around any of them. And one of, personally, my problems with this movie is a lot of I've realized what's quite important to me is I like the world that movies occupy, and I like hanging out in, like, when I like a world and I like hanging out in that movie, I like the movie more. This world fucking sucks. These people suck. Everyone's the worst. So I don't think it's glorifying anything. And in the end, yeah, they lose their gang, they get their asses kicked by the Vietnamese, they get their asses kicked by the cops, and then they start stabbing each other. And it's like, I don't see how anyone thinks they could possibly be glorifying skinheads.
In Goodfellas and Boogie Nights, you get pretty much half the movie of great times. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So you get to go, oh, I get to wear these clothes and hear that music and hang out with Frankie Bones and all these different cool characters. You know, like, what's up, gay? All that great stuff, and then it slowly starts to turn. Whereas here, they fuck up real quick. They have a party, and then pretty much it's downhill from there.
And
They
I mean,
blow
even
it.
that party sucks. It's not getting an extra table put at the front of the Copa, you know, while you go through the bag exit, and they
No.
put down a special table for
That's
you.
cool. That's cool.
That's
is just
awesome. They have the shittiest party where they just jump around in a
It made
shitty
a lot
warehouse.
more sense when I was younger, though. It made a lot more sense because remember, we're middle-aged men, so it's like we don't have that. I don't know, that urge to just break everything.
Well, and also
Jump around and
because
break everything.
I'm sure it may have been similar for your guys' situation, but at least for me, when I was young, the parties I was having is there'd be 5 of us sitting around wondering where there might possibly be a girl, and then just doing
If they
nothing,
exist. If
and
they
then
were-
all of us chipping in and once in a while being able to afford a pizza. So anything was better than our fucking, well, at least the parties I used to go to. So, you know, the fact that they had music, there was, you know, a lot of them, and there was a few girls around. I'm like, oh, wicked party. But, you know, looking back on it
It's
now, you
disgusting
just, "No, it's
now.
just fucking horrible. It's
and
disgusting.
it would stink, and everyone's like got just vomit over them, and
Just even the kissing is gross. Like,
Yeah.
you know, it's like tongues
big tongue.
like down people's throats.
and you're like, oh god.
Any parties happening in this shitty town?
Pulling on the boots and straightening up the laces, shaving our heads and strapping on the faces. Now you are a skinhead looking for a fight. Skinhead, running through the night. Skinhead, running through the night. Making lots of trouble, starting lots of fights. Skinhead, getting really pissed. Skinhead, standing on my wrist.
But this monkey see, monkey do mentality that a lot of people have, I think rather than inspire action films like Romper Stomper, that, like, as you said, Yuri, you get to be a part of that world, but I think you also get to explore a dark side of your humanity, because we all have dark sides, but then we're able to go about our lives as relatively normal, law-abiding citizens afterwards, you know.
I actually watched this on DVD because I own it, and for the first time I clicked onto the special features, and there was quite a few interviews by the director, and they were done as part of the promotional material. So at the time, and he addressed this whole, you know, inspiring people to do bad things, and he kind of had a bit of a swipe at critics, saying that, you know, there's this notion of like the unintelligent audience where every critic thinks they're able to watch a movie like this and not be influenced by it, but they assume that, oh, someone out there will be, and because they think they're so much more intelligent than any of the other audience members. And the director was like, yeah, I don't hold to that. He said, I've spoken to many people and encountered many, many different people who have seen this movie, and it didn't inspire any of them to go join a skinhead gang or anything like that. It's like, yeah, they understand what's a movie and what's not.
Movies don't create psychos; they just make psychos more creative.
Yes.
Well, I believe that's true. Like in my trivia, I do have a couple of guys that apparently were inspired by this to kill some people, but I would argue that they would have done that anyway,
Yeah.
because they're fucking psychos.
Yes.
You know, they didn't just, you know, they weren't just kind of easygoing, normal, functional people in society, and then they watch this movie, and then all of a sudden they go out and kill someone.
But this is what I was talking about, the perspective of the film. So we're in this gang, and I don't care what anyone says. This movie doesn't judge the skinheads in the way that you would now. All the cues that you would expect aren't there. So there's no long, I don't know, dialogue of someone deconstructing them or just really making them look, articulating why they suck and everything. Like, in fact, you know, we get there's, I mean, I've already mentioned it, but you know, Hando being tender with Bubs and saying, "I thought you were going to be my little scout," like, and he's, you know, or he's quite eloquent as well when he's reading Mein Kampf, and you know, he's assertive, and you know,
he does look after Davey too. Like he picks him off the stairs because he's passed out, and he puts a pillow under his head and puts the jacket over him. And
the dad, who's a diddler, he rescues her when we don't know that. Like, so you actually like him at the beginning. You like him. You go, oh, you know, they've obviously got a weird relationship. Like, he's a sugar daddy or whatever. But at the same time, he's rescued her from this idiot junkie. And so the movie's doing what it's meant to do. It's playing with your expectations. It's making you complicit. It's making you uncomfortable. It's challenging you. And I think that's what a movie should do. This movie should, in fact, I would argue that beating at the beginning appeals to some in the train station appeals to some very dark impulses. Not necessarily to take out the race of the people. It doesn't matter. Just someone you don't like, someone on the street you don't like, and just beating the living daylights out of them and looking cool while you're doing it, you know. And then even the one of the coolest things in the movie is barreling the camera, and they just go, "Fuck off," and then it goes Romper Stomper on the screen. That's cool.
What did you run into me for?
They made a mate, that guy pushed me.
What did you run into me for?
No.
What are you doing here? What are you doing here? I'm going to tell you something. I want you to listen to me, okay? This is not your country.
So I just feel like all of this, and he's already said it, the director said it in one of these articles you sent, Ricky. He said that, he used the word political correctness. He should have used another word, you know, but his version is, it's very, he doesn't know how bad it is. He's like, things are so politically correct now. And you just go, bro, you don't know the fucking half of it. Like, he just is. He wants to be an old school filmmaker. You don't get to like be Kubrick and say mad shit and do stuff that doesn't even make sense. Film it and go, are we meant to like Hannah? And you're sitting there in the screening room, him just going. He'd probably go like, I don't know. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. You know. Whereas Defining Bodies now would force you to go, okay, now make sure you have the disclaimer, have the character, you know, like the Antifa character, have them be the hero. You know, or whatever, you know.
Apparently, that's what's in the remake, which is a TV series. Apparently, it's Skinheads versus Antifa.
Well, I'm interested to see it. I haven't seen it, but I'm interested because, I mean, the fact that it wasn't picked up for another series says everything. Because if it's a one and done, then no one wants a one and done. So, but the fact that it's Antifa, I mean, I just want to know, because actually that was the question I had. That one of my only criticisms of the film was the only people that were portrayed as completely saintly were the Vietnamese. So that was the only group that, like, they had the dad, you know, he's buying a restaurant for his sons and going, you know, and that's all real. But there could have been one guy in his family who was a bad hombre. Like, there could have been one, and then you'd go, and then it's even more complex. Reminds me of a story. It's just very short, but see, I used to live near Victoria Street in Melbourne. Victoria Street's famous, just drug-addled street of heroin addicts and everything, people wandering around. A lot of Asian, Vietnamese, you know, grocers and all that, all along that street, and restaurants and things like that. Katie, my wife, talked to a lawyer once. There was research she was doing who does work in that area, human rights lawyer or something. And then she was like researching about the Vietnamese community and saying, it's terrible that, like, you know, that they have to put up with, you know, the drug problem there and everything. And this person said, and this was striking, they said, well, you know, and they weren't talking about everyone there, but they were talking about some of the shops. I said, well, who do you think's selling them the drugs? And I went, and that was such a striking comment, you know what I mean? Whether it's true or not, I can't verify, but it you know, to use the woke language, it problematizes the whole thing, you know? Like, there could have been one character who was, you know.
If they did that, then the controversy would have been even bigger. You know, it's already marred in controversy because of the skinhead thing, and then if you paint the Vietnamese in a slightly
As
bad
human.
light as well,
As capable
or
of
as
human flaws. you need to make sure that they are completely saintly.
I actually kind of think, like, the reason why I would give it a pass is that you just don't spend enough time with them to get into that.
Yeah.
Which I have actually seen as a knock on the film, that that they were. I think someone was trying to allude that it was racist, that the Vietnamese characters are only used as plot devices to propel the story forward.
I see.
Yeah, well, we don't really spend enough time with them, really. I mean, we only get a little sense of who they are.
And I don't think the movie calls for it. I don't think it would have been made better to spend more time with them. I don't think that's what it's about.
That's dangerous, though, isn't it?
But also that's why I kind of give them the pass on not having, like, I just don't think there was enough time to make at least one of them a dickhead.
But I also love that they're in love with Hando so much that they won't get that. There's so much real estate given to these bad characters. That's good. I wouldn't want that taken away. If we were adding, I'd go okay. But if we were taking away from,
like, you kind of had a couple at the beginning that were, you know, when the first guy who got beaten up when he went to that first restaurant to try and recruit help. And like the two it seemed, I assume they were maybe wealthier, you know, young Vietnamese guys refused to, you know, join up.
Yeah.
And then even at the end, as the first guy's walking out, like, a skinny kid goes, "Hey, I'll join," and he goes, "We don't need a weakling. We've got no use for a weakling." So, you know, there was some shittiness there.
So how come their toxic masculinity is beautiful? Why is that okay? You know.
Well, I mean, I think it's only okay today.
That's right. I got a question. Why is Russell Crowe so fat now?
How old is he? He's pretty old.
Tom Cruise is 60.
Yeah, but
what?
Tom Cruise has got all that Scientology behind him. That's what keeps him fit and healthy.
I only say this because I love Russell.
I wouldn't be surprised if young Scientologists, like virile early 20s young Scientologists, are having their blood drained and then pumping them into Tom.
Yeah. He's getting all that virgin blood and stuff. I get all that, but still, come on. Like, I mean, or is it in Hollywood? Is it you're either a literal steroid junkie like the actors we see now, who are just like, they are all steroid junkies, like actual steroid junkies.
Yeah,
like The Rock, all of them, right? They have to be. Look at them.
Yeah, 100%.
Allegedly, I say allegedly. And Russell Crowe, because he's the normal guy, that's what a normal guy looks like. He's, you know, if you drink and...
Well, I've just done a quick search. He's 58.
Yeah, well, he's enormous. He's big every time. Every time he looks like, I don't know, that solid, big belly.
I think he's just been having a good time.
Yeah, but, I mean... Oh God, I don't know. There's nowhere to go with it. I want him. He looks so fucking beautiful in this movie. I mean, he's young, but at the same time, I reckon if you quizzed a bunch of chicks and you said hot or not, if you covered up the Nazi stuff and you said hot or not, they'd go hot, definitely. And it maybe don't even cover it up for some of them. They'd probably go still hot. You know, particularly maybe even on the left, because I mean, they don't care about Jewish people. So,
Mein Kampf. You know it.
It's about war, isn't it?
This book was written by Adolf Hitler. It turned into a joke by a lot of people who don't want to know Hitler's view of the world. It's simply about the ongoing struggle of the white race and the enemies it faces. If you don't know who the enemy is, you can't win the war. Listen. All the noble cultures of the past declined because the purity and vigor of the originally creative race faded out. They were compromised by the seed of lesser races who were attracted to the works of the superior men. The undeniable reason for their decline was, then, due to a kind of racial blood poisoning. Racial blood must, then, be preserved in its purity at all costs.
Well, when he's reading Mein Kampf to Gab, she's really into him when he's reading it.
Yeah.
Like more, like you can see her getting more and more into him as he's reading. So I don't know what that says about her, but she is crazy hot, don't you think? She's got the tarot cards, the tap dancing shoes. She believes that when she has kids, her mother will be reincarnated as one of them. It's the kind of shit that's super hot when a chick is 21, but not so much when she's 41.
I got a lot to say. Okay, I got a lot to say. Yuri, this is too close to home. All this chick in this movie. I've dated crazy women. Okay. I've dated crazy women, and this portrayal deserved an Oscar for... I mean, you mentioned it, Ricky, some of the stuff, but you left out some stuff. Singing to herself, doing braids in her hair, jumping on the bed, regarding crabs at the beach, being hot in the sack, by the way, is definitely always involved.
That just wait till you get to my trivia.
And being horribly vindictive as well, like calling the cops, and not because she cares about Asian people. You know what I mean? Like she called the cops.
She only did it when she got booted.
Yeah, she's been slighted.
Right.
Yeah,
and I don't know. Like I think I might have the hots for Jacqueline McKenzie. I think I might have the hots for her. Like I can't stop thinking about it. That scene with her and Hando looms large in my brain from my whole life. Like just that sex scene.
Oh, you're awake. Brought my bag up and downstairs. I didn't get to salvage much from the place where I was living. Some idiot tore it all up. Easy for tap dancing. See? They don't fit me anymore. That's a picture of my mum. Isn't she beautiful? Everyone says I look like her. Not saying I'm good looking, I'm not saying that. But we do look alike. She's dead now. It's a car accident. She had her head chopped off. I think it's good to be able to talk about these things without cracking up, you know? Besides, I know she's still with me somehow. I think that when I have kids, she'll be one of them. Yeah, sort of reincarnated.
I hated her so much.
I thought you were going to say, I hate so much about the things
she chooses to be. I think I pretty early, like I did art all through high school, so I kind of hung around with like the art group, and I kind of got my fill of annoying arty chicks pretty early on. So all that stuff for me was just annoying as hell.
But at least she was painted as, like, you know, capable of being a bad person. Like, you know, because she was on, you know, she's manic and, you know, depressed, and she's on pills, and at the end of the day...
Epileptic as well.
Well, sure, all right. But she seemed like she had a suite of problems. She's also a, you know, what's the word we use now? A survivor. You know, I think that's what you have to call them. So now, well, the movie would probably be about her now, and it would be very different. Like this was such a neutral, like it's very human. You're allowed, she's, again, just like all the other characters, she's allowed to be bad. She's allowed to be annoying. She's allowed to be all this stuff, you know, whereas now you're not allowed to do any of that. She'd have to be heroic. She'd have again, as if she wouldn't be killing Hando. She'd be fucking fly kicking him on the beach. Kicking his head off. Fly kicking his head off.
Of all the people, she's got the most reasons to be how she is. Because, I mean, yeah, to be abused by your dad is, I mean, horrific.
The thing is, though, is you don't really know anything of the backstory of any of these skinheads at all.
No.
Like that's what's kind of interesting about the film, is it sort of drops you in there, and it doesn't really care where the journey that these people have taken to get there.
Heat doesn't fuck around. It's about the actors know, Michael Mann knows, and the action is what it is. We don't sit around saying, "Oh, remember when I did blah blah blah." That's the worst. This movie just goes, yeah, they've got it sorted, and we can guess, and maybe there's some cues in there, but it doesn't matter. Like we're living now.
Well, I've got two questions. The two weirdo looking like hanger-on moles, are they trans folk? Because they don't look like the kind of chicks that blokey skinheads would be into. Like, I don't know much about the punk scene back in the day, but they're weird, right?
I think they're just unattractive women. And
Did you say unattractive women?
yes.
Don't
You're
don't
cancelled.
don't say it don't mumble it. Just put it out there. Say, I think
I wasn't trying to mumble it.
they're unattractive women.
Oh, 100%. I think they're just ugly moles.
Discuss
basic.
those.
Yeah.
I think that-
And the one that the one that came down from Canberra as well.
She was mildly better than the others.
Just mildly.
If you had to choose, if I said, all right, here's the three of them, what do you reckon?
Maybe
Definitely not the one with the coloured braids and the manly looking face.
Well,
No need
part
to be
of-
personal.
I think part of almost the kind of contradiction is that they're crazy homophobic, but their women look very masculine. And the one that came down from Canberra, she's a skinhead as well, apart from this like small little tuft at the front.
Yeah.
And even in like American History X, the women there have got the very shaved kind of quite masculine kind of haircuts.
It's kink. It's like there is something going on there. I don't know what, or maybe it's as simple as it's a homoerotic thing. You know,
I don't know, but it's I think it kind of lends to part of why what's her name? Gabrielle,
yeah.
Why she immediately becomes so appealing is she's actually a feminine looking girl.
Fit,
She's
feminine, friendly.
Yes.
Certainly compared to, the other ones that hang around them.
All right. Well, my second question was it too far to have a busload of Asian tourists taking heaps of photos at the end of this film? That was one of David Stratton's gripes actually with the film, and we'll get into him through my reviews. But his criticism was that just put it over the top, like having these Asian tourists come out with cameras and.
I think that was the only part of the movie that to me bordered on racist.
Well,
because like the amount of video cameras and like everyone had a stills camera and there was like 2 video cameras as well. It's like, okay, that's a stereotype. And I think that's as close as this movie actually comes.
But
to racism.
I've got to say, I have experienced that. Like, I have seen Asian people like go overboard with photos and stuff. So,
well, it's
I
not
don't know
just.
what to say.
Look, we can be specific in this case. They're Japanese, and at least they had they have a nice bit of dialogue between two Japanese people, and that's exactly what they would say as well. Very casual. I was just like, I was like, yep, that's exactly what they would say.
Yeah, do you think they're okay, like showing concern?
Yeah, but just the way they said it as well, their performance was really like they were like they're quite droll actually. They're like which is nice. But the cameras thing, it's come from somewhere, Like the thing is, Japan in the 80s was like electronics leader, and a lot of those companies are Japanese companies, and they're very proud of their products, and it is a thing. Like I think there was I don't know, I can't verify how it's going now, but there certainly was a period where they were shooting a lot more than we were. You know what I mean?
100%. Yeah.
Well, they were leading the world in electronics at that time.
Yeah,
so.
that's right. But to your point, I think it's a tricky one. It rides a line because the thing is, I think it's edgy. It's quite brilliant in a way to have Hando's last moments be captured by the people he hates the most. That's nice, in a way. And where are they? They're not at some random beach. They're at Bell's Beach. That is a famous beach. That is where people go. Where tourists go. So if it was...
That's where Bodhi went to die.
That is. It's in Point Break. Yeah, that's right. So if this was a random beach, you'd go, okay, this is a bit... But this is fucking Bell's Beach, man. So come on. Like, this is a famous beach. It's within the realms. It rides the line, but I'm okay with it. And I think Japanese people would be okay with it too. I'm going to speak for all of them. Okay.
Well, I think they could have done it slightly... They could have pared it back a little bit, like not have them all come out with cameras,
Yeah.
In hindsight, I do think it was maybe a little bit in keeping with the film because it was so much more stylized than I remember. It's like everything is maybe a little bit heightened. So
That's a Kubrickian touch in a way. Like it's an outrageous thing that you know, it's a bit like or something like it's similar sort of thing in There Will Be Blood. I'm finished. His final ending, and then we cut. Like I mean, they could have gone for it even more and had like ended on one of their lines or something, but they didn't go for it. You know, they ended on with Hando. But look, at least we're talking about it. At least it's fucking something. At least it's something. You know. There are decades of Australian movies that we're not saying anything about.
No,
you know?
That's true. Yeah, one line I love is when they break into the dad's place, and the one guy says, "We came to wreck everything and ruin your life. God sent us."
This is one of my favourite lines.
Yeah,
his performance was wonderful.
He does steal his scenes. That guy.
Yeah,
he is good. Yeah.
Nice place you have here.
Who the hell are you?
We came to wreck everything and ruin your life. God sent us.
Although my favourite character is Pommy Bill.
At the beginning, he's the hard man who restrains Gabrielle's junkie ex-boyfriend.
He was the best. This giant English dude with like twisted up mustache, and you barely get a look at him, and you just kind of hear him in the background, and he's restraining the junkie, but he keeps calling him sir.
Yes.
Oh yes.
And there's
yeah.
one
You
line,
want to stop
I think
struggling,
he goes,
sir?
Yeah. You like punching up girls, do you, sir? It's like, oh, well, okay then, sir. You want to do it that way? And he's like, as he's just beating the shit out of him or whatever he's doing, like just off camera. Pommy Bill was the best. I think he's like the only character I have that's just flawless, like without, I just love that guy.
Flawless victory.
What is he, like a well-trained butler turn like bodyguard or something?
I think he's almost like a precursor to Bane or something. He's like this giant menacing dude who just happens to have this weird, almost aristocratic type voice and manner about him.
The music. How good's the music?
The music is very good. Yeah.
My first note when it started was just awesome title track.
Yeah, it's great. So it's original music by John Clifford White. So there's sort of two main parts to the score. So you've got this orchestral score with brass and strings and some percussion, and they put some effects on that as well. The effect you probably notice the most is delay. There's also some subtle electronic elements that blend really well with the orchestral stuff. Sometimes composers use like both acoustics and electrics, and it doesn't. It kind of sounds like two very different elements, and they don't blend so well. But I think this one did it well. But the other element is the composer. He formed like a punk band and wrote these neo-Nazi oi sort of things, that songs that you hear in the film, like Pulling on the Boots, which has lyrics like pulling on the boots and threading up the laces, shaving our heads and strapping on the braces. There you have a skinhead looking for a fight. Skinhead running through the night. And I just think it would be fun, really fun to write those songs, not because of the content, but trying to emulate a sound and a style that you're not really into would kind of be a fun challenge, you know. And you know, apart from if you don't dig too deep into the lyrics, I guess it's kind of fun.
When you see a yellow scummer coming up the road, will you turn the other cheek just like a gutless toad? Or will you stand your sacred ground and fall him on the backs? Tell him he's not welcome here and give him several smacks. Smack him yellow, smack him smack, smack him bucks on the scumbag, smack him in forest.
But that music has no business being any good, and they're catchy, and you know, they're so good. Some of them are so good that I'm certain some loose units have played them unironically and gotten into it
for sure.
I came across apparently, like it was a bit of a rumor that apparently they approached actual neo-Nazi bands or skinhead bands in Australia to use their music in those scenes, and apparently when those bands saw the movie, they refused because the movie wasn't glorifying skinheads.
Right.
So allegedly neo-Nazis themselves didn't think it was glorifying
not enough
neo-Nazis
for them. They were like, this is, Hando, they're like, Hando might be good, but he doesn't win.
It's a bit of a pussy.
Yeah, they lose.
He does become a pussy. I do. That's my only. We'll come back to music in a second, perhaps. But I am hurt that Hando becomes Bane. You mentioned Bane in Batman, the third Batman film, and Hando becomes a pussy in that third act, and it's a shame. Don't you think?
Well, I mean, I didn't mind that because he's not meant to be a supervillain in a comic book movie. He's just some dude, and you go, oh. So, and to me, that's like even another kind of example of how it's not glorifying skinheads at all. Even the one that you thought was like the hardest, most capable one in a certain scenario proves himself to be a little bit of a bitch.
But he does lose sort of what he's built though. Like the cops come and raid his place. Well, first of all, the Vietnamese kind of, beat them and take over their joint and burn it down. Then they have to find a new place. Then the cops come in and kill the one guy and arrest all the others. So he's on the run. And they fuck up that robbery. So, it is a downward spiral.
Yeah, I suppose it's just the way he's talking to Davey and stuff. He just seems like really pathetic, and maybe that's the point. And,
yeah, I kind of saw it as a point. Whereas I think if you want to make a supervillain, he would have lost everything, but then gone away to start somewhere again and rebuild from the ground up and come back and be a threat, as opposed to, I think what's a lot more real is he starts clinging and he completely loses all the power in that relationship. When at the beginning he had all of it, so he was the leader of the gang, he had the girl first, Davey did what he said, and now he's like, Davey's always got left, and because of his own doing, and he like has to just start pleading to hang on to the one thing he's got left.
And Davey's going to jail, right? Like, he's not...
I mean, they should all go to jail.
Yeah, they should.
We just have to stick together. I'm not afraid. She's sick, man. She's trouble. She doesn't really want you, she'll just use you. You won't get nowhere with her, Davey. She needs medicine or something. She's my problem, isn't she? Listen to me.
Take your hands up! Sick of listening to you, all right? She's desperate! She'll drag you down, Davey.
But before we leave the music, I really like the ending at the beach. So that whole fight scene, like you got this just amazing dense noise, and if you listen carefully, you can hear this distant like German guys like just chanting and yelling in German, and it's really effective when Hando gets stabbed in the neck and the sound just drops dead. Silence can be more effective than a music sting quite often, and I think it works really well.
Yeah, it's on the big screen. It would have been total chaos. You'd just be lost. These people are just smashing each other in the waves and screaming, and then you've got that crazy music going on. It would be really immersive.
Yeah,
I'd imagine.
There's so much anger in that sound, and it's when Hando is, I guess, at his most uncontrollable and angry.
And Davey's crying as well, like. Because he's going to have to kill his friend.
Yes, yeah. It's time for Who's Your Daddy?
Now we're going to do something extremely fun. We're going to play a wonderful game called Who is My Daddy and What Does He Do?
Alrighty. So, bit of a quick one this time around.
Good one's a quick one.
Well, so first up, we've got...
Wait, so do you want to get the intro? This is the first Mano of the year. Do you probably tell people what the game...
okay, yeah. So this is... So a lot of the times when, we'd watch kind of movies like this, you'd kind of be looking for father figures. So in this one, I'm going to present Astro and Ricky a couple of options for potential father figures, and they have to choose which one they'd prefer to be their dad. So starting off, Hando, played by Russell Crowe. Pros, he's a leader, strong, driven, capable, charismatic. Cons, psychopath, murderer, neo-Nazi. Degenerate too, as well. Next one, Davey. Pros, he's a little nicer than Hando and not a total psychopath. Cons, racist, neo-Nazi, degenerate. Next one, pedo dad. He's rich, but he's a pedo. And the last one is the Vietnamese dad. So he's a good businessman, seems to be a good dad. He's buying a restaurant for the kids. Cons, he should have done some more fucking research into the suburb where he was buying the pub. So I don't think you're going to have fun with any of these guys, but that's what we got. I should have added Pommy Bill in hindsight. I think Pommy Bill, I should have put him in there.
So look, this is really hard. So look, obviously you're drawn to Vietnamese dad, but to be honest, oh god, they work so hard. Like high expectations. You'd be really, because you'd be going to Melbourne Uni and he'd be getting your work every night as well.
Yeah,
so that's tough. Pedo dad, great setup. Like it's a tricky one,
Well, that's the thing. Rich, well-educated, creative, in the arts, in several facets of the arts, and clearly done very well in them.
He is only into chicks though, so I think John and I will be safe there. We won't be getting buggered.
Oh, I don't know, because her brother turned out to be gay. I'm not sure if we were meant to read anything into that as well.
Is that how it happens?
Your dad diddles you and then you turn gay?
Sometimes.
Sometimes. So, okay, yeah, fair enough. Well, then, look, the neo-Nazis, one thing that I like about Hando, fit... so good modeling. Like he does a bit of a workout. That's that's good. And a reader as well. Like there's not. I feel that's really important to me.
He was also humming along to the opera that was playing when they broke into Pedo Dad's place.
So you get the sense that maybe he's from.
Maybe he's not middle class. Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. Like a private schoolboy, maybe.
Maybe.
Yeah.
That's a side, but that's interesting. Layers. Well, yeah, so I do like that. Look, I don't know, the neo-Nazi thing just doesn't... What do you reckon, Ricky? Is that a bit much, or...?
It is a bit much. It would be a stain on you for the rest of your life, I think, if you...
we've already got a bit of almost like a surrogate son to him, who gets shot in the eye by the cops. So that's probably happening to you.
But Davey's probably going to leave the life, so...
Yeah.
And he didn't kill anyone, so he might get out.
Yeah. And I think he would have some life lessons to pass on for sure, having been a neo-Nazi and reformed.
Yes. See, this is good. I like this.
I'm leaning towards Davey for sure.
Although Davey was a little bit of a simp until the very end as well.
Well, he came through in the end. He did kill Hando, and he got the girl.
Yeah, he came through in the end, but he bailed on his lifelong friends for this chick. Yeah, and tough. She was
bros before hoes.
Well, what's his code then? You know what I mean? And he kind of he goes along with it. He goes along with all of it until this chick comes in, and it's like, oh, okay, well, I'm going to leave you guys. And it's not like she was some innocent. Like if she had been some sort of prisoner or something, and then he goes, oh, okay, this is all fucked, I'm going to do it. Like, she was kind of horrible for herself. That's
all right. Well, Ricky, what do you reckon?
I think I'm going to have to go Davey.
Well, I'm going to go with the Vietnamese dad because I'm not racist. So This was all a ruse.
Apart from
Yeah,
the
it was.
assumptions you made about him making you work hard and going to Melbourne Uni.
That was me. That was like Donnie Brasco. I was undercover and I had to do some stuff. And now this is what I really believe. And Ricky's a racist, and I'm not.
So you win.
I do.
You win Romper Stomper.
I win Romper Stomper.
So do you guys want a bit of trivia perhaps next?
Yeah, go on.
Yep.
So Daniel Pollock, the guy who plays Davey, he committed suicide before the film was released.
Oh my God, really?
Yeah. So, I mean, he could have been...
he was awesome.
This could have launched him like Russell Crowe. So...
I wondered why. I mean,
really
look,
sad.
it's so silly to say, like, that's terrible just because we lost a human life. But I wondered why I'd never seen him again.
Yes, yeah.
And I was just like, what? That guy's, he's really good.
Yeah. And if you see him on the IMDb page, it's just the shot of him in Romper Stomper. So you're like,
That's sad.
Yeah. So the character of Hando was originally written for Australian actor Ben Mendelsohn.
Mendo.
However, Mendelsohn didn't look menacing when his head was shaved. And when Wright decided that Mendelsohn didn't have the look, the role went to Russell Crowe.
Russell Crowe, just while we're on him, he is a superstar, and you can tell he's a superstar straight away. There are no accidents, okay? There are untalented people working out there for sure, but I think I'm going to say it's rare for someone as talented as this to be overlooked. I've heard Pearly Things say it when they're talking about like chicks who think they're 8s and 9s and stuff, and she just goes, if you're a 9 or a 10, you get modeling contracts, So if you are a 10, people will be killing each other to sign you up. You know what I mean? So this guy, he is a bona fide cinema star. You can tell. He leaps off the screen. There are people in this movie who are he's lifting just by being there around him, but he is totally engaging. He's got that thing.
Well, Crowe's performance in this film is what convinced Curtis Hanson to cast him as Bud White in LA Confidential. So he went from this successful Australian movie to Hollywood.
That's the same story with Black Hawk Down. So Ridley watches Chopper, and then puts Eric Bana in Black Hawk Down. We return to the beginning where we're talking about cinema, making cinema, and now cinematic actors. They don't stay. They don't stay. When you've got it, you're off. You're gone.
You'll like this one, John. So the opening scene at Footscray Station was actually shot at Richmond Station because Footscray Station has no underground walkway.
That's my station.
So that's your station.
I wondered why it was all looking very familiar.
Director Jeffrey Wright spilled a glass of red wine on reviewer David Stratton at a film premiere in Venice. This was 2 years after the premiere of Romper Stomper, and it's because Stratton refused to rate the film on his movie show, which, again, as I said earlier, we'll get into him during the reviews. Now, getting into the juicy trivia here. In the early print of the film at the Toronto International Film Festival, the sex scene with Daniel Pollock and Jacqueline McKenzie was even longer and more graphic than in any subsequent DVD release. There were very few edits, just one long sex scene that was obviously unsimulated, as you could see insertion. In the DVD's commentary track, director Jeffrey Wright too confirmed that some of the sex on screen was real. And Russell Crowe said about his sex scene in the film that he engaged in unintentional sodomy with actress Jacqueline McKenzie. So
that's a lot to take in. That's a lot.
How do you feel about these sex scenes now?
Yeah, I stand by my feelings. It's made it better. It's made them better. That's what you want to hear.
You sexist pig.
Well, these days I heard, was it Langella who got fired from
Yes.
his series because he touched an actress's thigh?
Yes, Frank Langella. I'm so glad you said that. So back in the day, they were doing unintentional
And this
sodomy.
is not touched. He touched her thigh as part of a sex scene that they were filming, not
Yes.
at the fucking lunch table or something. This was,
And the whole thing was shut down.
and he got recast, and they reshot his part.
And he's finished, really.
Yeah.
That was the end of him.
I read something about him saying this was going to be his final thing anyway, but it was a part that he absolutely loved, and he was so psyched to be going out on a part like this, and then, yeah.
And then he touched someone's leg. Fucking pig.
So I got two last bits of trivia here. So in March 2000, British prisoner Robert Stewart bludgeoned his cellmate Zahid Murbarek to death with a wooden table leg. In 2004, Stewart was found guilty of the racially motivated murder and was jailed for life. Stewart compared himself to Hando in Romper Stomper, as well as Alex DeLarge in A Clockwork Orange. And another case like this, Dylan Roof, the perpetrator of the Charleston church shootings, had an image of Hando dying on the homepage of his personal website. So there you go. Monkey see, monkey do.
Because I'm sure watching this movie was the only thing that led these people to their actions.
Yeah, well, that's what I was saying earlier. You know, I believe that these two characters would have carried out these attacks regardless.
Oh, 100%.
Regardless of Romper Stomper existing.
Think about it. Like, we're talking about an era when cinema had such a purchase on people that they, that this was a worry that they were gonna enact things from it. Now, I mean, fucking hell. Like, if the person who killed me said that they, liked Clockwork Orange, then you can tell them from me that I appreciate their work. Do you know what I mean? So, because then you could say, I hate that you killed John, but at least he would appreciate that you cared about cinema.
But it was also, wasn't it the point of Bowling for Columbine that they were trying to blame
Marilyn Manson?
Manson.
Yeah.
And the title of the film was, well, they went bowling that morning. Would you blame bowling for it?
Yeah.
So it's...
But he's been cancelled, and maybe you should be cancelled for...
Marilyn Manson or Michael Moore?
No, Michael Moore's still a fat idiot, so he's rolling on.
Yeah, not that I'm...
Marilyn Manson...
Not that I'm like a Michael Moore fan, but...
Marilyn Manson's been questioned on social media. That's enough, isn't it? Isn't that enough?
Sure.
Isn't that enough? That's as good as anything else.
That was locker room talk. I'm not proud of it, but it is things that people say.
All right, John, hit us with some locker room talk.
Okay, all right. So a few things. Some may call the actions and beliefs of Hando and his gang toxic masculinity. I think this is wrong. I say we call it simply masculinity. From what I've read on the internet, I have come to the conclusion that every man you know wants to fight, collect Nazi memorabilia, and have penetrative sex with women. Just try and deny the charges, gentlemen. Huh? You can't. In this way, Romper Stomper is a documentary of sorts.
Well, I can't deny 2 out of 3.
You peg. These men are damnable representatives of the patriarchy, which is why we should hate their very existence. However, much seems to be made of Hando and his gang's anti-Semitism. This is confounding because, as we've seen, as we've been told time and again from the left progressives, Jewish people don't count, nor do Asians, who we know now are white adjacent and complicit in the downfall of proper minority communities. Nor should they get into Harvard, for that matter. And hopefully we'll...
So you're saying this is basically white on white crime and Whoopi Goldberg wouldn't give a shit about it?
You have, like the precogs in Minority Report, you have prefigured what I was about to say. It is difficult to see the brawl in the alleyway between the skinheads and the Vietnamese as anything but white on white adjacent crime. As Yuri quite correctly pointed out, Whoopi Goldberg has made much recently of the Holocaust being simply a case of white people being mean to other white people, and which I think is something we can all get behind. Now, there's a little thing here, but Magoo, one of the Canberra crew, says to your favourite skinhead chick from Canberra, "I'm not living with no fat bitch," he says to her when she's hoeing into a chip butty, I believe it's called. This is disgusting fat phobia, okay, and essentially as bad as the N-word. So fat lives matter.
Yep.
is what I'm trying to say there. But there is just one glimmer of progressive light when the two men kiss, even if it is the skinheads assaulting the two men to make them do it while they scream gay slurs in their faces. We'll take what we can get.
I forgot about that.
They should be the main characters, I suppose. I was alarmed to see during the sex scene between Hando and Gabrielle that she was, and look, these aren't my words, gentlemen. It's the words of the patriarchy, that she, Gabrielle, was being taken from behind, okay, Ricky, doggy style, I think they referred to it as, or as I am going to call it, the rapist's delight, okay? There is no way any woman would get on all fours and be entered in this disgusting, submissive position. Okay? Getting dogged, I believe it's also called. I suppose that's good, is it, Yuri? Getting dogged?
I'm stuck on rapist delight. It sounds like a flavour from the worst box of Roses chocolates you've ever been given. Oh, what's this colour? Ooh,
on the
Rapist
card,
Delight.
looking at the card, and you're like, oh, I think I might have the Turkish delight instead. I can only hope in the soft reboot, which we've yet to see, that we see Hando's equivalent getting pegged from behind, because that's beautiful. Don't kink shame. That's beautiful, and the scene we have is disgusting. Okay. Now, just finally, perhaps the most toxic element of the film is that all the socio-political commentary is merely window dressing for the message of the film. Don't cut your mate's grass. Men have this retrograde attitude that it's not appropriate to nail the ex-girlfriends or let your friends be with them or your current girlfriend. This is why masculinity is cancerous. The ideal relationship has no boundaries, okay? You should not just let your partner get railed by big studs and bulls, but you should encourage it. Men need to accept the cuck life and drop this whole bro code nonsense. So that's what I have. What else? Anything to add? I think your comment about the masculine chicks, there's something in there that I didn't pick up. But I think it's bigotry of a kind. I don't know. I don't know what. I don't know whether it's good or great. You know,
Yeah.
Is it fucking beautiful, or that or is it disgusting? Is it hatred? Is it love? I don't know.
Well, it's probably it's portraying the trans community as psychopaths and mentally deranged.
I think
Perhaps.
given that we're three white guys talking, no matter what we say, it's wrong.
Yeah, well, it is. It is wrong. So I don't know. I think that's why you just got to be. You just got to say I'm sorry more, like Fry in that Futurama episode.
Yeah, sorry.
He says, sorry.
Yeah.
So how does it rate on our toxic scale? You can't get more toxic than this, sure.
I think it might be pretty toxic.
Well, I mean, Gabe, she does actually end up having a lot of power. She breaks up the gang. She kind of,
which is
she leads them to the break-in. She kind of, she has a lot of sway over the movie, like more so than the women in Heat, for example.
Yeah, look, I don't know. The fact that I still can't stop thinking about Jacqueline McKenzie getting railed in that scene. I just think it's just the hottest thing I've ever seen. It's so good. She's smoking hot. Her body's smoking hot. The way she moves it, everything. I think that's enough for me. I'm toxic. So.
All right, that's a 10 then.
So that's made it more toxic or less?
I'm radioactive. So it's just, I need to be stopped. She needs to be stopped. I need to be stopped. And that's the end of it.
I guess we're giving it 10s.
Yeah, I'm giving it a 10.
think so.
I can't not give it a 10.
Well, let's talk reviews. Melbourne Age called it mainly an excuse for loads of rude words, bashings, running up and down alleys and around abandoned factories. So how do you like that? Just seeing it on its face value right there. Didn't dig any deeper at all.
Fucking wowzers. Just like.
But also running down alleys, not lots of rude words. Like they didn't even like like bash it properly. They don't even call it like racist or
I know.
xenophobic or anything. It's like rude words and running down alleys. It's like Jesus.
Yeah. The only hint you get there is bashings. Yeah, isn't that weird?
Bashings. I don't know.
So if you grew up like we did in the 80s, 90s, and maybe the early 2000s, there was a show on Australian TV called The Movie Show, and it was hosted by Margaret Pomerantz and David Stratton. It was kind of a famous show for a long time, and they'd review movies. So famously, David Stratton, he refused to give it a rating, because they gave it stars out of 5, and he just thought it was totally abhorrent. And
he's famously curmudgeonly as well. Like
he is.
Margaret was a lot more freewheeling, and she loved all the band movies. She Baise Noir, and
she gave this film 4.5 stars. She thought it was one of the most important films Australia has made.
The only thing about that is she's a shill, though. Like I agree with what she says. I think it is a great movie, but she's a total shill. She would give anything Australian like
that's right.
Fucking
Yes.
4 or 5.
Yeah.
Because
she jacks up Australian films. I think. Just because they're Australian, because she I guess in her mind that's her, trying to support the film industry. But I think it does it a disservice, because you go to some of these Australian movies back in the day, based on her opinions, and you'd be like, man, this sucks.
Well, that's because they were the critics in Australia at the time, so they were our kind of answer to Siskel and Ebert. So Stratton refusing it that was a big deal. It's not like some Metacritic reviewer or Rotten Tomatoes reviewer, whatever you've got these days.
And their show was good because I think they had this clashing personality. Yeah, he was the old curmudgeon, and she was sort of like
hippy dippy,
the hip, sort of. Hippy dippy, but sort of slightly outrageous.
Yeah, and
she had this
she was
outrageous
there
fashion as well.
When would screen a film that the cops would come, and that was stuff she would do.
I know that people see it as a racist film. I profoundly disagree.
I can't score it at all, I'm afraid. This is a dangerous film.
So, but in Variety, David Stratton did say, rarely has there been such a disturbing, essentially misconceived pick.
He should say, the last thing I want to do is give this movie any more publicity, so I'm going to do an outrageous thing that I never do publicly and not give it a rating and make a big deal of it. And then you go,
then everyone's going to go and see it.
And you go, is this going to work?
Yes. Well, let me end here on the New York Times. So Stephen Holden wrote, if Romper Stomper has a message, it is a nastier, contemporary version of the same misunderstood kids message that permeated the 1950s movies like Rebel Without a Cause. For these alienated, frightened losers from unhappy family backgrounds, the skinhead way of life is just a hook on which to hang their rage.
The same Hollywood liberals, that remind me of Wesley Strick, the writer of Wolf.
Yes.
Which we covered last year. Just this kind of 90s Hollywood liberal, and what a bunch of pussies.
Yeah.
It's the inability to we've already talked about it all, but the inability to see that this is a piece of art, and that ambivalence and complex and challenging ideas is important to art. I mean, you're what's wrong with you? That's proper art. Like what it should be black and white. The moral should be black and white. Like it should be, I mean, it's that's so asinine and silly, that attitude. And
well, that attitude is now consensus.
Yes, it's policy.
We haven't seen the remake that came out a few years ago now, but you couldn't make this film in today's climate.
I would stake my life on there being some pretty on the nose black and white nonsense in the soft reboot. It's impossible. Like too much time's passed. It's that moment was he sort of talks about it like the funding bodies saying, "Oh, geez, we're scared of your film and it's dangerous, but we've got to be pushing the boundaries and stuff." He's like, "Oh, they'd never say that now," and he's acknowledged that it's the atmosphere is not there to create this kind of thing. This is I say the same shit all the time, but I want to bottle whatever. The 90s had a lot of dumb stuff in it, but one thing that was there, because I remember it, and I've talked about this before, it's that in the zeitgeist, this idea of comedy being dangerous and You know, people were reading Trainspotting and buying the soundtrack to Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, reading that book, and, you know, watching Romper Stomper, and, you know, there was this sort of dizzy, and watching anime from Japan that was totally outrageous, and there was just this I don't know, swirling of pushing of the boundaries and trying to find the edges of human experience, and there was being offensive was something, and Bret Easton Ellis said this in an interview I saw just the other day. He's so good, you know, author of American Psycho. He said, he goes, we were at Gen X, his era. He's like, we wanted to be offended. He's like, that was something that we craved. You know what I mean? Like these arguments about Romper Stomper are totally moot. You used to look at the cover and go, oh, I hope this offends me. I hope this pushes me. I hope I'm scared, but I'm going to get it out, or I'm going to watch it. You know, that is totally missing now. That is not a thing. It's totally not a thing. People go, they like these series and everything, but this movie's fucking off the chain. There's nothing like that out there. Not really. I would posit.
What have we got in the cards for next month's Mano?
Well, next month's Mano. Oh, well, we can do this live on the air. We got quite a few that are in the pipeline. I really wanted to do In the Line of Fire, Clint, which I love, because it's just a great movie. We'll just have a great time. There's been some talk of, you know, covering some other things. We've had Cliffhanger on the horizon for a while.
Are we not doing something in Black History Month? In the vein of Black History Month.
It is Black History Month, so, you know, we could probably do something in that vein. I
mean, we could do some Wesley Snipes.
Well, I think we should do some Wesley Snipes.
Well, can I suggest?
Oh, I know what you're gonna say.
What?
White Men Can't Jump.
Yes, White Men Can't Jump.
That movie was so big.
It was big.
It was huge. I recorded the song on the radio, on my cassette player. I just watched it over and over. I don't think it's a kid's movie.
No.
And so, yeah.
Well, let's fucking do it.
Let's do it. Pick the chump. Okay. All right. Good. Well, yes. Well, we said what we said.
Indeed.
And until next time.
Don't be a pussy.
Don't be a pussy. I hate that you killed John, but at least he would appreciate that you cared about cinema.